So I'm delighted to welcome Dan Lyon today for this interview. And Dan has a fascinating story, which I'm sure is going to be something that's going to inspire many people in these crazy, challenging times, especially to have something positive to look forward to for the start of 2021. So basically, Dan's journey has been moving from the travel industry through some very challenging times into a completely new career. So I'm going to let Dan introduce himself and then we'll take it from there. So welcome,
Good
Dan.
morning. Thanks a lot, Steve. Morning all. Thank you for having me, Steve.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, and I really do look forward to sharing my journey with you guys, and hopefully can inspire some others that find themselves in a similar position to the one I was in back at the beginning of this year.
Okay, so just tell us a bit about your background, Dan, and how things sort of gradually evolved into a downward spiral.
Okay, so my background was always in travel. I left school in '93, I think that far back, and worked for a company called Longwood Holidays, who were quite big in the Red Sea. And I was very much into swimming and windsurfing and water sports. And Red Sea was becoming quite big at that time. And I was offered a job and started a scuba diving program. So I went out and learned to dive. And kind of built a diving program for Longwood before the Red Sea was really that well known, and grew that over several years. Went to work for a couple of other travel companies, tour operators, and eventually found myself back at Longwood after a few years away. And really, the background there was the Red Sea, Egypt, Israel, and they were acquired in 2009, I think it was. They were bought by a much bigger business, and they were then relocated to Barnet. And I'd always wanted to run my own business and thought that with all the experience that I'd had, I would open up my own tour operation travel company, which I did in July 2011, actually. And we grew fairly successfully in the Red Sea. And then there were various incidents. There was kind of the second Arab Spring, which and also started the business in a recession, which wasn't easy. And we grew really, really well in Sharm el Sheikh, and we were one of the best sellers in the UK for the top hotels there. And in 2014, there was the Russian plane, sadly, was blown out of the sky in a terrorist incident. And we lost pretty much most of our business overnight. I would say probably 60% of our business was going to Sharm. And we lost that, which was kind of the first major hurdle. And I'm a really positive person and kind of don't accept defeat lightly, pick myself up, brush myself down, and diversified. We added Sri Lanka to our program, and that started to go quite well until, sadly, they also had a terrorist incident in the Easter bombings. And kind of luck really wasn't going our way. But we kind of again picked myself up, brushed myself down, and got on with it. And it just seemed to be whatever we did. And I think it's the way the travel industry is: one step forward, three steps back. We partnered with Monarch Airlines to Eilat as a destination. Sadly, they went out of business. We then partnered with Thomas Cook, and they went out of business. So it was just one hit after another. And we got to the beginning of this year, and fortunately, somehow, we were looking, the figures were looking quite good going into 2020, and COVID hit. And January and February was an absolute disaster. And for anyone that's in the travel industry will know that January and February are the peak months. And if you don't sell well in January and February, then forget it. And as positive as I am, I believe there's a solution to every problem, but I think even I knew that enough was enough. You know, I didn't see a quick end to the COVID situation, and I always say that you know, things are quite often blown out of proportion. But on this occasion, I just thought that there was a lot that we weren't being told, and I didn't see it getting any better. So I decided.
You know, from my own background in the travel industry for many years, Dan, I know only too well that the travel industry is renowned for being, and people within it being unbelievably resilient and resourceful. So for you to start thinking that way, it must have been, you know, unbelievably challenging.
Yeah, I just think that, you know, I've gone that far, and you know, certain things had kind of aligned. You know, our lease was coming up for renewal, and there was just lots of things that made me think that this was, you know, the time to, you know, just to get out of the travel industry or try and find a new path. You know, a bit of persuasion from home as well. You know, I think my wife had seen me kind of work morning, noon, and night to build my business, and you know, I think saw me in not as good a place as she's used to seeing me. You know, it was starting to take its toll. So you know, say the toughest decision I ever made was to close the doors on the business, and I really didn't know what I was going to do.
And you had to lay off a number of staff, didn't you?
I did, yeah. There were 6 of us. So yeah, and you know, most of those staff, in fact, all of them I'd worked with previously over many years. So you know, it was like kind of saying goodbye to family at that time. It was awful. It was awful. It was, you know, I'd say that the hardest thing I've ever had to do.
So once you closed the doors on your own business, which you know, it sounded like it was all starting to go in the right direction. What happened next? How, you know, what were your immediate thoughts? Were you thinking, I just need to take time out, or what?
I mean, I thought I needed to find a job. You know, I had a couple of months of leeway, but I needed to find something. And I've got quite a good support network. I know a lot of people. I'm involved in networking groups, and one of the biggest networking groups in the country, actually. You know, I'm a member of. So, you know, there were lots of people kind of offering me opportunities, which was absolutely incredible. You know, various opportunities to help them to grow their businesses. I think that one of the things that people in the travel industry especially don't realize is that there are so many transferable skills that we have. And I think one of the things that I hear so often is that, you know, travel's in my blood and I don't know anything else. And I was the same. You know, I kind of thought that, but you know, people offering me different opportunities at the beginning of March. And I started to investigate all of those, you know, different ideas and what I really wanted to do. And you know, things started to progress, and just at the point where really I had to make some decisions, we got locked down, and all of those doors that opened for me closed again.
Oh, blimey.
So kind of back to square one with looking for new opportunities.
But just backtracking for a sec, Dan, you say a lot of people in the travel industry don't recognise how many transferable skills they've got and so on. I mean, ever since lockdown and possibly before, I've been seeing so many posts on different social media, especially on LinkedIn, about different people, long-term travel professionals, solely just focused on getting another job in travel. And other people saying, well, yes, you have lots of other transferable skills, almost like they're in denial. But I keep saying to people, when I was getting involved in these discussions, these posts, say it's not even just about your transferable skills. It's about all those attributes, like, you know, saying resilience, resourcefulness, and the positive can-do attitude, all those sort of things, drive, determination, and they're worth their weight in gold to, you know, to anybody. So how did you pick yourself up yet again, Dan.
Well, yeah, I kind of guess that, you know, I say I am kind of a very positive person. Not a lot gets me down, but, you know, I put my CV together, and whilst doing that, I suppose it made me think a lot about myself and, you know, the kind of skills that I do have, and the kind of thing that I wanted to do. And you know, I think my biggest asset is my positive mental attitude, really. And you know, I love helping people. It's the one thing that really gives me a buzz and makes me tick. So you know, putting my CV together made me realise a lot of, you know, those kind of things. And
I
you know,
think,
like you said, that. Sorry.
yeah, sorry to interrupt that, but I was just going to say again, I think that's a key aspect that so many people in the travel industry overlook. The reason why so many people enjoy the travel industry is not just the fact about they love travel and traveling and everything that goes with it. It's fundamentally most people love helping people, don't they?
Yeah, 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 that's it. And also, I think that, you know, I realized that I was very passionate about what I did. You know, and whatever I was going to do next, I had to have that same passion for.
Yeah,
Because although I suppose travel is sales, and you know, now with my career transition, I'm a will advisor, which to some degree is sales. It's I don't feel like I'm selling anything. I feel like I'm helping people. Um, so yeah, I put my CV together, and started to you know, connect with recruiters, and on a lot of the job boards, Indeed and Reed and all the different things, and I just kept applying for various different jobs that I thought would suit me. And three will advising companies actually came back to me, which I thought was a bit strange because it wasn't really something that I really thought about. But once I started thinking about it and found out a little bit more, you know, it did tick a lot of boxes because you know, there are 60% of the population don't have wills, and the kind of mess that it leaves behind if people don't have wills is heartbreaking, really. It tears families apart and all sorts. So yeah, the more I looked into it, the more I thought, okay, you know, I can make a difference by doing this. And you know, I was offered a couple of opportunities. Looked at the companies that had offered me those opportunities, and the company that I'm with now was the one that really seemed to fit my personality the best. You know, it was very customer focused. They provided excellent training, ongoing support, and yeah, you know, kind of interviewed, got offered the job, and took it, and kind of, you know, put my head down for a couple of months and studied and learned, because I have to understand what I'm doing before I do it. I think that you only get the passion from being able to really understand why it's a solution. And yeah, and you know, kind of the last 6-7 months is kind of been building a new career as a will advisor.
brilliant. And during that time, you must have had doubts, Dan.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, at the beginning, with all that knowledge and kind of buzzing with enthusiasm and what have you, I kind of got out there and started speaking to people. But I think as time went on, and I ended up with scenarios from clients that I wasn't 100% sure that I was giving the right answer, it kind of made me doubt, you know, and I didn't ever want to give the wrong information.
Yeah,
As I
sure.
said before, I've had very good support, but it made me start doubting myself and my choices. And I think they call it imposter syndrome. You
Yeah.
know, where, you know, I just didn't feel that you know, I was a will advisor, or you know, I was good enough. And yeah, I kind of found myself in some fairly dark places, at times, kind of thinking whether I'd made the right choice, whether I was any good at this, whether I was going to succeed and be able to put food on the table, and time was running out, and you know, all of those things. And if it wasn't going to work, then what on earth was I going to do?
So how
Yeah.
did you pick yourself up yet again, Dan?
Well, I think that comes from the support that I have around me, my family, my friends. I have actually a very good friend of mine who also runs his own business and businesses, and we bounce off each other a lot. You know, when I'm feeling rubbish, I phone him and he gives me a kick up the backside, and vice versa. And, you know, if I say I'm going to do something, or you know, he'll always check in on me and see where I'm up to, and yeah, I think it's just having that, and you know, my wife and family reminding me of who I am, and you know, that I am generally very positive, and it's, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
hard.
think
It's hard.
it's so important, isn't it, to have that positive support network around you. And
In,
you know, I've been, you know, I've been doing this stuff for years now. But when I went through my own transition, that's something I learned. And the challenge for a lot of people, Dan, is I think they they go into their shell, um, and start to become almost what I call like an island, rather than actually being out there and talking to people and sharing their experiences, and um, exposing their vulnerability, if you like, because then people will engage with them as they've obviously done with you.
yeah, yeah, you know, I think initially, you know, say I'm the eternal optimist. I have found myself saying things and doing things that I'm not used to saying, and you know, kind of, you know, coming across quite negative. And yeah, I think, you know, having those support networks and making sure that I wasn't an island was critical. But you know, I read a lot. You know, some really motivational books, and I try to read as much as I can. Kind of personal development, and you know, and listening audio books. One of the things also found that helped me a lot was exercising. Um, yeah, I think I over exercised early on in lockdown, and kind of ended up not being able to do anything for about 8 weeks. Had to have first some chiropractor and acupuncture treatment. And actually, during that time, I probably felt the worst that I've ever felt. And it was only when I started getting out and running and cycling, and kind of getting some fresh air. And also, I run quite a lot with audio books. So it completely takes my mind off of everything I was thinking about, and just, yeah, kind of an injection of positivity.
Yeah, brilliant. No, I mean, it's one of the things I share with people all the time, Dan, is that when you're in this dark, challenging place, um, working on yourself is one of the most important things you can do. So if you can become the best person you can be, then once you get through the other side, then you're going to feel so much better about yourself, and see the world very differently, which it sounds like you have, Dan.
Yeah.
So what would you say has been the most challenging part of this journey, Dan?
The most challenging part is, I think, believing in myself in a new career. You know, as a will advisor, believing that I am a will advisor, and I'm giving the right advice. And I think um, I'm the kind of person that needs to have that endorsement, or the you know, from my clients,
Yeah,
really,
the feedback.
the
Yeah.
reassurance that I'm doing a good job. And I think it's only once you get into it and start to take those steps forward, and actually step out of your comfort zone, and kind of that starts to happen.
Yeah, no, I
Um,
get that totally. I mean, you know, I started doing this 19 years ago, and that's exactly where I was. You know, people always say to me, "It's all right for you, Steve. You know, you're an expert." So, well, I didn't start as an expert. You know, like
yeah,
you with your will writing, I started with basic concepts, and I just had a lot of skills and attributes, and like you, a can-do attitude that I was going to make it work. And also, very importantly, a very strong support network. So I think that that's absolutely fundamental.
Yeah, I
Um,
think it's belief, but the belief in myself, I think, has been the the toughest part.
but now you
Yeah,
got through that.
absolutely, yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think, as I say, at the beginning, it wasn't such a challenge. It was exciting, a new start, and I think I went from having that excitement to a dip, which was probably the reality.
Yeah.
Um, and then the discomfort of being out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And it's only time that has helped that, and having faith in myself, really.
So you come a long way on this journey in 2020. And by the way, you're self-employed, aren't you?
I am, yeah.
Yeah, right. So what would you say to all those travel people out there, and there must still be thousands of them out there who are hanging on grimly for this, um, I suppose, hope that things will go back to normal. What's your advice to them, Dan?
I think that to put that step forward, to make that change. It does frustrate me a little bit. I have to say that everybody's kind of hanging on, as you said, and what are they hanging on for, and what have they got to lose as well at the moment? I just think it must be soul destroying, carrying on booking people's holidays only to cancel them again. And I only think how I would have felt if I was in that position. And they've got so many transferable skills. Like I said, you know that building relationships with people, solving problems, their marketing skills, their resilience, their passion, the everything. They've got so much to take them into other industries. So just to get out there and find something that suits them. Um, you
And
know,
what would you say out of everything through this absolutely unprecedented year, Dan? What would you say your biggest learning points have been?
my biggest learning point, I suppose that I suppose how resilient we actually are. That I think that we really are. We're bulletproof, and whatever life fires at you, kind of face it head on, deflect the bullets, and you probably come out with a few dents, but at the end of the day, you live to fight another day. So I think that's I think been my biggest learning point. Just that I think you just gotta go for it. Take that leap of faith.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's a brilliant place to finish up on, Dan. And I think it's an amazing journey you've been through this year. I don't suppose in your wildest dreams you would have ever thought 2020 was going to shape up this way, but then it hasn't shaped up in any way expected for any of us. So
No, I don't think in anyone's wildest dreams they could have
no,
expected
but I
2020 to
say,
be what it has.
I take my proverbial hat off to you.
Thank you.
You've done an amazing job, and you found a new passion, and clearly
Yeah,
something that you're going to be very good at for the years to come. So congratulations,
thank
and
you.
thanks for being my guest on this interview, and good luck with everything you do moving forward.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.